just gonna mute myself when I'm not talking. So,
Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome, everyone, to this very sacred circle today. This is a broadcast of love and light, and always mind-stimulating conversation and heart-opening experiences. I want to thank everyone for joining us in this QCTV episode, which will immediately be followed by a Zoom after party where we get to ask Z questions and take our conversation further. So there's two ways to join us for that. You can check out Z's special offer, or you can check out our membership, and we welcome our Zoom audience right now as we begin our session. We are here talking about galactic shamanism and timeline bridging. My guest today is a millennial starseed who knows her heritage as an Andromedan geneticist. She has a mission here. She is an Earthstar healer. Let's welcome Z, Earthstar healer, back to Quantum Conversations. Hi, Z.
hi Loren. I am so excited and so happy to be here again. You look amazing and you just look so happy. And I was saying to her earlier that she's looking like a galactic commander, and it's awesome.
Well, that's interesting because I think all of us who are watching this episode, even wherever they are, can relate to this new earth leader role, let's call it. And so if we wear clothes that make us look a little bit like that, right on. But it's a great metaphor for all of us to remember a great step up. Here we are ahead of 2020. And Z, it's so good to talk to you because you've been around many places, and we're going to catch up with you on that. But do you sense that there is a big step up surge by many people? There's an undercurrent of new earth leaders getting ready.
Yes, absolutely. And that is so much around what we're going to be talking about today. I am feeling, since pretty much for the past 2 months, this huge wave of awakening energy. I'm feeling that there's a lot of people who have felt like they've been on the sidelines for maybe many years, maybe decades, that have been awakened for a long, long time, but are finally hearing the call or feeling like coach is putting you in the game, that it is time to offer our gifts and our light in a more committed, a more focused, and more intentional way. And I feel that this is what we're going to be talking about the timeline bridging, which is very exciting because this is a concept that has been floating around in my mind for a few years. I know that a lot of people have heard about this bifurcation, or that there's a splitting of dimensions. And this always left me questioning, because we are coming into wholeness. Everything that about this spiritual journey is about coming into wholeness. And so it never really fully made sense to me that there's this bifurcation. Was like, okay, well, what happens once we split? Some people say that many people are gonna get taken onto ships and taken into other places to be healed or to go through their ascension. And this makes absolutely no sense to my starseed brain. And the reason for this is I am an angelic starseed. I come from a really far away place. And so when I came into this reality, I have this perception of the universe as a whole. And so this issue that we've been having in this universe has been a truly universal issue. It hasn't just gone on Earth. And by that, I mean the severe degradation of divinity, the severe separation of our inner faculties, like our feminine and masculine. These great issues are not just based on Earth. And that is why there's so many star beings on the planet right now, because we're really here to transform a universal thing. And so in the process of healing a rift in the universe, we don't just put the problem to a different place, because then I'm like, well, then I'm going to have to go over there and deal with it over there. And so I started thinking about the concept of timelines. And it was around this time I started working with these ancient Pleiadian timeline technology. And what I was seeing was that the star seeds and the light workers, and especially our other dimensional selves, we are connected and we have created this technology through time, which allows us to basically jump realities on a collective level. So to us, we perceive this as Mandela effects, right? This is just how, when we perceive small Mandela effects in our reality, it means that bigger reverberations have also happened. So through the use of our fully embodied creator consciousness and learning how to navigate reality in this empowered way, we are empowered and boosted by these light technologies that have been created through time to help us at this time. And so, as I was working with this timeline technologies, this understanding came through that however things unfold on this planet is ultimately up to us, and that there are a lot of different concepts and storylines and narratives and agendas that are trying to keep light workers off task. And this is the other subjects that we're going to talk about today. I
It's
call it
pretty,
the
it's a it's a hot topic. It's come up so often recently. So please, yeah.
Yeah, the weapons of mass distraction. And ultimately, it's distracting us from this whole timeline bridging, which is basically the idea that starseeds are here to fulfill our mission. I like to say that we did not come to Earth to drink lattes. um, and the one other thing that I really wanted to share, which is something that brings a lot of warmth and happiness to my being, is this concept of galactic shamanism, or just bringing about more education surrounding this topic of shamanism that has been, distorted and degraded on this planet, just like any other school of teachings. And I'm excited to share more about that. So, Lauren, where should we go from here?
Let's first check in with you on the collective. You work with people, you receive information. You actually are starting a pretty significant webinar series that is very helpful for all of those on this path. We're going to get there. Yet you also have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. So energetically, give us an update here. Um, it feels like we're really ready to step up, but yet sometimes we can feel like we can't pressure ourselves too much, or we have to be patient with ourselves, or we get frustrated.
Mm-hmm. So I feel that the thing that is that the collective is moving through right now is in really massive solar plexus upgrade or healing. I say that humanity are healing from planetary sexual enslavement, and that most starseeds and light workers, we grew up and we exist inside that reality. And when I say sexual enslavement, in my understanding of the universe, sexual energy and creative energy and the energy of all of creation are all the same. So sexual energy is just how our physical 3D vessel experience and channel that creative energy that creates all things in the universe. And as I speak these words and share that understanding, you can see how far humanity have fallen from that pure divine understanding of creation. And that hijacking of that understanding of creation is the original virus or degradation that began this enslavement process of humanity. And so, as way showers and as healers, we have come to this earth to, first of all, experience that which I'm calling the false matrix. The false matrix is the reality where we're operating inside these distortions of reality, kind of like we are not sacred. We are separate and degraded from divinity. We have to earn money to survive. We have to do things with our energy that we don't want to. All of those things that exist inside that distorted frequency that I think everyone that's listening to this show right now is fully aware of. And we are learning how to transcend or move out of that reality. Not only that, but anchor ourselves in a new frequency, a new reality outside of those viruses. Now, these viruses go really, 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 really deep. And a lot of this is around the solar plexus, because when we think about slavery, it's like completely taking your power away. And so you think things like, am I going to be able to survive if I quit my job? Am I going to have social security if I start talking about aliens? Am I going to sound crazy? Am my family going to disown me? All of these things. And I think that a lot of people are just on the verge of really breaking out of that. And I think that these teachings are here to help us achieve a state of energetic sovereignty on an energetic and higher dimensional level. And so that that could precipitate down into the 3D. So it becomes not really this decision that we have to make in the 3D, like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to quit my job. Whereas if we come into a state of energetic sovereignty, that naturally will happen and new paths will open up. And this is also the process that all human beings are undergoing. And so the reclamation of our energetic sovereignty, this is a set of knowledge that my ancestors have passed down. It's kind of like, Taoist Tantra, but it has nothing to do with sex, really. It's just where it does, where it has everything to do with sex, where we understand that sex is the interplay or the interchange of energy between us and the reality and everyone else in co-creation. Um, and so what we're talking about here is a lot about our own commitment and how daring and present we can be in our own life to make radical changes and radical decisions that seem extraordinary, because we have to become really lucid about what's happening on the planet, right? That's why I speak those words like planetary sexual enslavement. Like, we have to say it like it is, not because we got to focus on that part, but the solution, which is complete energetic sovereignty. Now, if you're somebody who has been awakened, but you are still spending time, going to the mall or getting lattes or exchanging energy with a false reality, I would say that it still has to come from within us, that we are becoming daring and creating a new reality from our own self. And we work multidimensionally in helping people access those pathways.
Thank you so much for explaining that. And I just love you and how you express it. And I'm just so glad that you express this truth as you know it about bifurcation. And it shows that, we have work to do as we help others and assist others. And New Earth, we talk a lot about this, holding our vision for New Earth and holding that frequency and really being sovereign with our energy. So I love that. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about galactic shamanism, because that sounds very intriguing. And this is something that you've been guided to and downloaded with. So, what is galactic shamanism?
Well, from my understanding, and I just want to start from this place of something that my heart is really longing to express, my feeling surrounding the word shamanism without any intellectual definitions of the word, it feels like the experience of a multidimensional being on a beautiful magical planet. It is experience of accessing that magic and being in a complete space of awe and wonder in the beauty of it. And it's in that reverence of creation that this power comes, because all of life recognizes that we love life, and that when life loves itself. There's a power that comes through that can heal, that can allow people to grow, that can lead people into better lives, that can receive wisdom and knowledge. And is in that recognition and that reverence for life and the universe that this power comes. And so when I think that this energy that's coming through is so important right now, because we can get so easily lost in our mind about, oneness. What is oneness? I'm the same as you. So if you do shitty things, then I still love you. And I guess if I feel negative feelings towards you, then maybe I'm not enlightened, this whole like mind running around in circles thing. And the heart doesn't consider things in that way. The heart responds in this energetic way, which is just the way that energy responds, the way that life itself responds. It does not recognize good or evil, but it recognizes good and not good, I guess. And these things are inherent in the reality. Um, so my journey started when I was 18 and I woke up, and everything that happened in my life, this little voice in my head would say, this is part of your shamanic training, you're remembering. And, I'd be on the dance floor and I'd be able to, shift energy. And I remember one night I was kind of, drunk and having a party thing. I was 18, doing the 18-year-old thing. And I went to Arby's. I remember it was 2 a.m. I went to get a root beer float, and there was 10 people in line in front of me. And this idea just came out. I was like, I'm going to play rock and paper scissors with people in front of me. And if I win, then I get to stand in front of them. And I would project the wrong answer into their mind. And within 10 minutes, I was at the front of the line because I had won rock, paper, and scissors 8 times in a row. And, that was just when I was first waking up, and my inner teenager was still like, what can I do with this, But when I discovered that these powers were inherent, something else came along and just started saying, well, who are you to have this power? And that question was something that resounded really loudly in my mind. And so I never actively went out to empower those psychic capabilities. I kind of understood that I was on a path to learn morality and love, and to get in tune with my motivation before I would engage in those psychic capabilities for fun or whatever else. And so, I, as Loren know, have traveled around the world listening, communicating with spirit. And basically, I've just been doing work with the earth, and I've had experiences learning from indigenous teachers who often have a very hard time with me, because they think that I have to go through the same regimented and difficult path that they did for 50 years before I can call myself a shaman. Um, but I think that all of these experiences were part of my growth so that I could stand here right now to share these perspectives, because I feel that um, at this point on the earth, there are a lot of people who are being called to take on certain responsibilities and to take on certain roles, and that it's not really about the word. And I think that the word shaman happens to be really fitting, and also really empowering, because it holds certain codes that are really important. And these codes are, as I was saying, like really anchored in the heart, really anchored in the living magic of the earth. That is a frequency that is the key to healing this planet. And it's something that is not really ever talked about. And I think that it's actually pretty suppressed. Um, in the history of this planet, for good reasons, right? Like, you take away humans' powers, and if their powers happen to be magic and their connection to the earth, then the first thing you do is to take that away, right? And so there are beings who come still very connected to that essence of life. Maybe they were tree spirits in a past life. I have had clients that were literally spirits that lived in trees before, and now they're human. I've had clients who used to be river spirits, who used to be mermaids, who used to be, these mystical creatures, and they've come to bring through this stream of consciousness, this vibration of living life. And I think that if anyone is feeling called or just feels tickled by this word shaman, that they should take heed to this reverence, to pay attention to how deeply they feel for life, and let that deep feeling of love for all of life be the motivation that carries them in all the things that they do. Because when we do that, we can't possibly act out an ego, because we know that the love of all that is always watching us, and that we would never betray ourselves, because the love within is so deep. And so I would call it galactic shamanism as well, for the more practical reasons. I mean, those actually are the most important parts. Those are like what the words actually deeply resonate. And then practically speaking, when we think about a shaman, it's somebody who accesses other dimensions, who reaches out and travels and receives information for healing and for growth of the community and its people. And so I feel that at this time we're adding the word galactic to it, because there's a paradigm of shamanism that has happened on Earth, distorted by all similar schools of religion, which is kind of this distorted masculine energy that we have to suffer to learn, we have to suffer to grow, that unless you have suffered, your wisdom means nothing. And we are really moving out of that paradigm, right? Like, we're moving into a reality where we're learning in love, where we're paying attention to our reality, and so we don't have to get hit by a bus, right? We don't have to get lost in the jungle to learn how to listen, because we'll just go and listen. And so well, it's really important that this energy coming in, because we are recognizing that there is an interdimensional situation on Earth, that it's not really about Trump or the military or the CIA or any of these beings that seem like they have control of humanity, but actually the interdimensional beings that created those physical vessels of control. And that when we recognize that that interdimensional control system plays out in our own energy system, that all we have to do is learn to unplug our own energy system from that false reality and plug it into the organic reality, that that is our only job, that they want us to be looking outside of ourselves. They want us to be looking at the military. They want us to be looking at the military airplanes and the ETs and this and this and that and this. Because as long as most of the people are doing that, we're still in the control system. And the hardest part and the hardest task of all is to actually go inside, to excavate every distortion and trauma and pain that ourself and the collective have experienced. But that is the only way that we're going to move out of that, is if enough people fully unplug from the false matrix and are plugged in to the field of living life.
That is why it is so hopeful when I hear a young, beautiful woman like you, so reared up and on point, awake and on purpose. It's so promising and I love it. And so we're going to unplug. I know more and more are aware of that matrix, that false matrix to unplug from. It's more and more visible to all of us. And so I love what you said there, Z. It's the radical decisions that we make, the radical decisions, the radical choices are all for love. Can you share a little bit more about the types of choices, like examples for those radical decisions?
Oh gosh. Well, I have to say that in the human design system, I'm actually a splenic person, and a spleen people actually fully operate in the moment. So the authority in the human design system is the way that we make decisions. And so there are some people that need to wait a few days to feel things out. And there are some people that need to wait a whole month to feel things out. And the people who are spleen authority, like me, we get messages in the moment and we have to act on them. And it's kind of hilarious how this plays out in my life all the time. I think the most prominent one is when I was living in Ontario. I was working a job, a normal job. Now, this is the only normal matrix job I had in like the 5 years inside my awakening, and I was fully guided. I realized and was basically told that there was no way for me to fully boost myself out of the false matrix without first having to really let go of my judgment or my resistance to anything in my own mind, and just um, not question the guidance and just go with it, right? And it's the guidance that I have ignored in resistance before that, in years before. And so when that cycle came around, I knew that I needed to follow that guidance this time around. And so I've been working at this place full time. And then one day, Spirit was like, you need to quit your job and drive to Vermont, which is like 10 hours away. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I had no idea where I was going to go or what was going to happen. But I basically just immediately told them I wasn't feeling well, jumped in my car, filled up the gas tank, went to my house, got some stuff, and drove overnight to Vermont. And I ended up getting there right before the Pleiadian alignment and just working with the most beautiful ancient light technology there for a few months. And then when that was over, Spirit was like, okay, drive to Portland. And I had adopted 4 kittens, and so I drove across the continent with my kittens in my car. And this is like ridiculous, right? It's like a ridiculous thing to do, but Spirit was like, all these kittens have these connections to these star systems, and we're going to be driving over these ley lines, and it's going to be great. And I was like, I guess probably couldn't get too many people to take that one.
Okay, that's super cute. All right.
Yeah.
Um, did you have any? I loved what you said there about letting go of the judgment and not questioning the guidance. That really is a really valuable lesson, and it's not so easy to learn, but it is a beautiful lesson. And when we all do that, it's magic, and that is
Mhm.
New Earth. So, um, so talk about the light technology that you were working with. Explain that. That's fascinating.
So the best way that I can explain this is basically what I was shown, and I had several clients that were also involved in the building of this thing. So when I did sessions with them, more information would come through. But basically, what I saw was that this technology was imagined back in the Pleiades. I think before Egyptian times. There's a story, and I kind of take these stories just as metaphors, right? I don't think they're actually serious. I don't know that, there are actual 3D humanoid beings that live in Pleiades. Like, it could just be a consciousness. I don't know. So, how the story goes is that a really long time ago in the Pleiades, when the Draco reptilians came to invade, they made a deal with them and said, we'll send the Seven Sisters to Earth, meaning we'll send some of our DNA to Earth. And instead of you invading the Pleiades, because there was too much going on there already that was protected or that would be too sad to be destroyed, they sent their genetics to the Earth and made this deal that the Draco reptilian would control the Earth instead. Um, but when they made that deal, it's apparent that they also created this light technology that was to aid the star seeds that would come to Earth at this time, because they knew that they couldn't defeat the Draco reptilians at that moment in time because they were in the wrong or the dark quadrants of the universe. Let's say we haven't entered the photon belt or whatever you want to call it. The vibrations of the universe in that place and time was not high enough for the light to come in and dissolve the darkness that was happening. And so they knew that that would be happening at this time now. And so the they brought this light technology here. So when I was reading this was all in the rocks, right? I was like, wow, like this is really crazy and cool. But then I met a Cherokee elder who actually lived on that land, and he told me that his story of creation of his people is that these giant spaceships came from the sky and landed in that valley, and that's what created that valley. And that I believe that that is when they came and actually physically seeded that light technology there in the very quartz dense rocks, giant boulders that are there. And so when I tuned into this light technology, it's almost like these vortexes would open, and it's almost like it pulls the universe into a black hole. It goes like, and then we pop out on the other side. I know this is just like me trying to explain, but we pop out on the other side and we're in a different reality. So how they were showing this to me was, for example, so I went outside one day and I was walking, and there was this woman painting a mural, and it was very apparent. I stood there for a second. There's a voice in my head was like, this is important. You have to look at this. And so she was painting the nose of a lion onto the corner of the street. Um, and, I was watching her for a few minutes. She was painting this lion on, very apparent. She's got the brush, she's painting on. And then after some work with the light tech, and they were talking all about the Mandela effects, they're like, pay attention to those. And so we went back to town, went to the same corner. It was a completely different mural of an earth with two star beings hugging it. And there was like this portal that was coming out, right? I was like, wow, that is actually, that was a Mandela effect. And what they were showing me was that if enough people were embodied in their creator consciousness and were fluid in our perception of reality, that we could literally make very big jumps. And this takes a lot of people in the state of consciousness fluidity, of course, where it's like, for example, in one reality, Trump is doing all these things that are really bad for the environment. And then we jump into a different reality where Trump is literally planting trees with the military. Like that is a possibility. That reality is right there. And if enough people can perceive the malleability of space time and understand how to use that concept to navigate and create, that we can literally pop ourselves into that reality. And this can happen instantly, or it could happen slowly, or it could happen medium speed over 2 months or 5 years or whatever it is. It all depends on, how determined and activated we are as creator beings, because this is our game, this is our movie, this is our planet. We get to decide what goes on here.
We would really love to create that timeline of the latter that you said there, a leader who cares for the environment and shows that, and maybe breaking down the old systems. I know it's all chaotic right now.
Mhm.
How would we
Well, I
do
want to
that?
say quickly that
Yeah.
it actually is super dependent on us, and this ties back into the timeline bridging. It's like there
Yes.
are these psychological operations, right? And there are different levels of light workers. So there's quite a few beings who are existing in very high places, like Lisa Renee and Sandra Walter. Like they're working at a way high level, and that it's almost like when I'm working, I can feel them. I feel this oneness in this tunnel. I'm like, hey guys, like how's it going up there? Things are great. And then we have to recognize that there is a ladder, that there are plenty of people that are here to actually physically plant the trees. And a lot of people are not here to plant the trees, and some people are here to plant the trees. And so it's very easy for things that come in between those teachings to just distort them. Um, so, for example, a lot of people ask me this question. They're like, okay, so I'm awakened, I'm in New Earth. Like, does that mean I just like, do nothing and whatever I want? Like, do I still go protesting? Do I still write my book? Do I still like talk to muggles? Like, What do I just like ditch that whole reality and pretend it doesn't exist? Well, I can only express my own journey and how that's unfolding for me. It's like I do perceive the universe in this very holistic and high place. I am working with interdimensional beings and technologies, but when I so this book that's coming out, Advanced Light Work, it's basically actually coming out in two frequencies. And so I'm technically writing two books. It's basically the same download and the same intention, but one book is written in the language of light workers and star seeds, and it's a bit more advanced. So it's like I can explain things faster because I'm like, oh, the energy system, there's a blockage or whatever. But then the one that it's coming through for more people who have mental illness and are so Kuan Yin basically told me that I'm going to use mental illness and these kinds of mind and body separation disorders as a bridge to help people awaken from the false matrix. And
Mm.
so it's the same idea, it's the same medicine, it's the same technology that's coming through. And this it's just that so what I say here is um, as we activate our DNA, we become more complex creatures. It's not that we become like just more joyful or light and loving or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm just loving now. It's like, no, we actually become more complex. We have more access to creativity. And the underlying existence that we have is joy and love and excitement and beauty and all of those things. But how we're choosing to weave our energy and time becomes this masterful creation. And that from that place, of more access to creativity, we also receive more creative solutions to things, right? And I think that's why I say it's most important to heal ourselves and to access our multidimensionality. And then what comes from that place, you're going to be inspired. You're going to go outside and see, oh, wow, like these people, I wish they could experience this same heavenly reality as me. This is just like too good for me to have all to myself. And then the inspirations come for creative projects which become bridges for those people. Um, for example, using mental illness as a backdoor, right? There's like 80 billion backdoors. Like if they can't fully figure it out on their own, like we will figure out solutions because we have access to creativity, right? This is why creative energy is so important. And if, say, we have an implant in our head from our religious background, or we have had circumcision or any kind of familial blood sacrifice covenants, which is like super, like a lot of people have those. There's energy leaking out of our system all day long. And so there's not even room for our creativity to actually kick in to become excited about those projects. So the first step is that we have to create our energetic sovereignty, understand what that even means, understand that it just feels excellent and awesome to be in a state of creativity, and that when we are activating our heart and our mastery, that creativity gets funneled into our mission, which is what we're here to do. And so the final touch on that is that when we think about that reality where our leaders like Trump or that guy in Brazil are actually in love with the planet, are actually wanting to awaken people. And I want you to imagine that reality and think about how many light workers are really ready to carry 7 billion people over a bridge, right? We're still early on, we're still in the first decades of our mission here. Um, it's like it's a two-step process that happening at the same time. We're being prepared, the light workers are waking up and coming into sovereignty, and the masses can't wake up before we're ready because they're going to wake up and go into mass panic, right? And so this process is going to happen as quickly as we fully devote ourselves to step into that energetic sovereignty, to clean and dissolve and restore all the distortions in our system so that we are actually fully ready to hold space for people. I was talking to my sister about this. Is like we have been healing from these really deep stuff. Like, I want to share something with you. Sexual enslavement is something that everybody feels, is something that the soul feels. Imagine how it feels if you were a sex slave, right? If you were enslaved by these people and you were raped or you were violated. Now, humans who are enslaved also feel that. They feel that in their soul. It's not a physical violation, but is a soul violation. And so it is an emotional trauma. Okay. And that can't be, that is a real disclosure. Okay. Because that piece of disclosure actually affects people. And that's the piece of information that is going to liberate everybody. Right. And so we can't, this is like where it's like there's these reflections. I don't want to go into the disclosure thing, but so when these people fully realize that, like, if we were to just say, like, look, interdimensional beings have been raping you and your family and doing blood rituals, like, that would be really tough. Like, people might melt down and have a panic attack, right? It is like that happened to them and happened inside them. And so it's only when enough light workers have fully gone into those traumas in ourself, process those deep feelings in ourself, and really eradicate all the victim mentality and step into energetic sovereignty, step into the embodiment of our divinity. When we fully accomplish that, then humanity is going to start waking up, because we are here to hold space for that. We're here to help them through that. And they're going to see, like, oh, well, this person has gone through that, and so I can do it too. Here's the, like, it might have taken me 7 years, and I was literally, on the floor for many years, rolling around in pain, being like, how the heck I'm going to do this? Like, why are they doing this to me? Like, it's really painful, the process of unplugging, because they designed it that way. But it's like after those 7 years and after learning these interdimensional tools and the light technology, basically I created this project called Advanced Lightwork. It is a process that anybody can go through to analyze and assess all of the distortions and disconnections and traumas in our multidimensional body and psyche, with the tools, like all of the most efficient modalities that I have discovered in healing those things. And so this is what advanced light work is the process of learning how to do that. And I think that is probably the most important work, because everybody on the planet is going through that process, and that is going to give us the tools to really be able to hold space for our family and our friends and our coworkers. But we really have to go through that process ourselves so we don't get roped into the drama.
Yes, and so that's wonderful that you've got those tools and that you've used them yourself, and you've used them with the people that you work with, and actually are like living and breathing these tools and being sovereign in your energy. All right. Well, it's so beautiful, because when we actually unplug from that false matrix and get creative, that is New Earth. And so we are all New Earth leaders here to assist the others as well, the others when they awaken. So it's really cool, Z. I want to thank you for that. Um, here's a question that's popping up from our audience in our question box on our website. This one is interesting because you spoke a little bit about it. This one is from Tony, who says, how do we move into our light-based way of being when there's many times when personal energy feels very low and it's hard to hold intention or belief above the sense of darkness, especially when this is combined with the challenges in the outside world, which already feel difficult?
Okay. So I think one of the first activation codes that most star seeds receive as we first wake up is this idea that all is self, or there's the law of one, like everything is of oneness. And so what that really means is that it's as within, so without, as above, so below. And since it's probably way more probable and way more accessible for us to shift ourself inside and allow that shift to reflect in the external world than running around like in every country to every leader to every mind controlled celebrity and fixing them. Right, eventually we can do that, right? That's something that can happen and something that will happen once enough of the internal alchemy happens. And so we're not trying to become a light body. We're not trying to become a being of light. That is what we are. We're not trying to become something that is ascended or enlightened or beautiful or perfect. That is what we already are. And so any of these distortions or beliefs that make us feel like we have to get somewhere is part of the psyop, is part of the virus. You can see how widespread that is in all of the religions. Basically, it is all trying to keep us, it's all designed to keep us from being ourselves, from accessing ourselves, because when we're not ourselves, who's in there? A controlled slave, right? Something that is easier to manipulate. And so the easiest way for us to clear all of those things again is by really going inside. And these are the tools that are shared in the advanced light work. Um, I'm going to be teaching a 7-class workshop with ceremonies over the 1111 portal. And I'm going to be offering this as an online class because we've been really building the energy of this portal. I'm intending to really pull people through a clearing experience of learning these tools and really experiencing what that cleaning feels like and what landing in a higher vibration feels like. I'm really intending for this to be a portal for people to step into a higher timeline. And so I wanted to make this accessible to as many people as possible, which is why I decided to do this online thing. But essentially, when we close our eyes, what is supposed to feel like is an expansive, starry sky. It's supposed to feel like it's full of awe and empowerment and beauty and light. This is just how life was designed to feel. And so if we close our eyes and that's not how we're feeling, then we'll know that there are subconscious and maybe emotional or intellectual distortions or belief systems or blockages that are existent in our body. And I know this might seem a little overwhelming at first because there could be a lot of stuff, right? But that is our mission. That is our first mission. That is our slice of the pie. That is just our own slice of the planetary transmutation homework assignment. And that, everything else that you do is bonus. But what we're really doing here is transmuting and transforming and restoring all of that inside ourselves. When I first woke up, it was very clear. It's almost like this mandate just reverberating through my system. It was like, your job here is to restore all dimensions back to perfect harmony, like all distortions, everything is restored. It doesn't mean that there won't be sadness or, grief. It just means that there won't be extreme evil that has been using universal law loopholes to continue to be really shitty. So it starts from within our own energy system. I still probably scan my body and clear my body and meditate and restore fields at least 3 hours a day. It has been like that for very many years, and only at a certain point did it become planetary and galactic things because my body is the universe. But before that, it was like, what my great grandpa did and what happened when I was 3 and why my dad was like this. And it's just a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Oh, the good thing is that the light of our awareness is love and is divinity. And so it has the power to instantly dissolve and restore any of this. It doesn't have to be this crazy, intense, dramatic, painful thing. It could be an easy and graceful thing as long as we're doing it proactively. And this is a concept that I call proactive self-healing. It's a concept, it's crazy, is where you heal yourself before you get triggered.
Yes.
So if we do an hour and a half to 3 hours of the self-healing, you will find that you do not ever get triggered externally because you've already cleaned your house.
Right on, sister. Yes, awesome. Well, good work. And I just love what you're doing on the planet and the ways that you're teaching people and explaining and really assisting the leaders to step up. So that's awesome. Cool. Well, there is a music. What is the name of the file that you wanted? I can show them here on the screen. I want to talk a little bit about the beautiful music that you bring forth. You really do have a sonic vibration in all of the music that you do. And along with the course that you're offering is a big download of a lot of things. And so, Z, here's that link right here. Is there one that we could sample right now briefly? Hold on, let me show you. Let's see. There we go. See,
Yeah. The
is there
first one
one?
would be great.
Blessed be?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to play a little snippet of that. And as we do, I'd like to point our viewers and our listeners to Z's special offer that's available at acoustichealth.com on this webpage, or you could go to bit.ly/Earthstar offer. That is bit.ly/Earthstar offer. And when you purchase the offer, we're going to come back and explain the course, but you can go check that out. You'll also get a ticket into the after party with Z immediately following this live stream on YouTube. So let's take a listen now to Blessed Be. Just a moment here. Didn't have it set up, so I can't access that one in the moment. Well, okay, let me try one more area. Hold on, everyone. Z, as I am getting a file, go ahead and talk about your special offer. This is what you were mentioning. It is the advanced lightworker package. Oh, by the way, I wanted to say good on you for going into the mental illness back door. I know that many are, I've spoken to many people who have said that, some people have a dark night of the soul. They're diagnosed with bipolar. This is actually their awakening, but they're misdiagnosed. So you are really coming down a good avenue with that one. I do want to say thank you.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's how I woke up because I had a really, really nasty eating disorder when I was in high school. It was mostly caused by these negative portals that were open in my neighborhood, that were caused by curses on the land from the wars with the indigenous people that had occurred there. And from that experience, I mean, I didn't know this back then. I just had the symptoms of a really nasty depression and eating disorder. And when I was at the hospital, they just did not know what to do, obviously. They tried to feed me some frozen pizza. And that was actually the first moment of awakening for me. I'm like, oh my God, the hospital is, kind of evil. They're in on it. So um, as I started waking up and activating my psychic senses, I was able to go back in time and just view the timeline and see that there were these entities and things that were really influencing me in that time. And this is actually what happens to a lot of star seeds and light workers. We come into the earth as these shooting bulbs of light, and it's very easy for the astral plane and the beings there to see when and where we're coming in, what kind of color and shape we are, so what gifts and what knowledge we're coming in with and what our missions are. And so they can be very specific with the kind of implants. And distortions that they throw at us. Of course, I would say that that is also our training ground. That's totally our first defense against the dark arts class. So I've written this book called I Am Starseed. It's basically all of the adventures that I've been on over the last 7 years, interacting with the astral military and the Sasquatch and the interdimensional control systems of the earth and plant medicines, and talking with galactics and literally inheriting a piece of land from my star family through a prophecy. So my entire life has been entirely engulfed by this galactic frequency. And I felt that by sharing these stories, I can explain a bit more about what I mean when I say those things, because it is all about activating our psychic seeing. This is something that we can all do. It's something that we all need to start doing, because this is what allows us to be lucid. We're not just, oh yes, everything is great and everything's love and light and blah, but we're actually like seeing it with our own eyes. We're just like, okay, there's these light beams coming in and is hitting these distortions and these beings are running away. This is great. We're like seeing it ourselves. And again, we can all do this. This is our natural state of being. Um,
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So we're going to go over more of the classes that you are offering, but I do have a little piece to play right now. It's Tara's Gift of Liberation. So let's just tune into this and feel the sonic activation by Z, Earthstar Healer. You are listening to the beautiful music of Z, Earthstar Healer. We have a download of beautiful music by Z available in her special offer. And again, that link is right here on the screen right now. I'm going to take this shot down. You can find the special offer on the link in the description box. But I want to bring Z back full screen so you can share with us on some of these modules in the special offer.
Here we go.
Yes.
The main part of the special offer is the access to an online retreat, which is the live streaming of my retreat over the November 11/11/11 portal. And again, I think the main thing we're enjoying here is really this strong energy that we're building, this intention for us to really take advantage of a strong portal and strong energy like this, to really use this energy in a good way to actually shift in a deep way into a new frequency. And the only way we do that is by making room, by upgrading and clearing ourselves, as we've been talking about in the show. And so the retreat includes 7 workshops, and let's see, they are basically a transmission. So we talk about, you know, multidimensionality and connecting with galactics and speaking with spirits and psychic surgery, removing implants, entities, the different kinds of miasms, restoring genetic material and soul, cellular degradation. We talk about artificial intelligence and organic consciousness and all of those things. But all of that information in this jam-packed seminar series is for our physical brain, because what's actually coming through is a transmission, is an energy, which really allows us to open up our psychic senses. There is a transference of energy and information and experience where I'm opening up my psychic library so you can access and experience everything that I have uh, come into awareness over the last while. I mean, I think I didn't really talk much about me being a geneticist, but me in the sixth dimension, I am actually a geneticist. We could say that this was my previous life or my current higher dimensional reality. But being a higher dimensional geneticist basically means that I access and perceive reality in this very geometric way. I see it as geometries that precipitate down into the physical. And so I'm able to see distortions in our body in that through that lens. And I think that it was easier for me to access that, but ultimately I have the same hardware as everybody. So this is something that we can all do. And I think at this specific moment of time on earth is really important for as many people as possible to hop on this level of perception, because so the main thing that I feel that is very dear to me is this practice. I do grid work, but this is psychic grid work. It's not specifically of energy on the earth, but is more about navigating collective consciousness. I can feel it's like, whoa, that's really intense, because it's not just the people who are awakened, it's everyone. And we can't really escape from that because we exist in the same time space continuum. And so, you know, I have some crazy neighbors over there that, you know, drink alcohol a lot. And it's like, okay, like those people are made of the same stuff I am. And so that person is still me. And I don't have to go over to her house and educate her about the ascension and energy work. I can go deep inside my own self, which is connected to the collective consciousness, and disseminate antiviral and restore things from the inner plane. So this is a level of grid work that is coming through. I know that this is one of my superpowers, as you know now that, you know, from the playing rock, paper, scissors thing, this is what it has evolved into. Activating and cultivating our psychic capabilities is a huge part of this. And I'm doing 3 breathwork and sound healing ceremonies so we can really experience these deep healings to allow this light in. And yeah, like I'm saying, it's really designed to be a portal. It's designed to be an experience that takes you from one frequency or timeline into another. And you know, with the package, I am also including a PDF of my book, I Am Starseed, which is a really good prequel to Advanced Lightwork, because again, I'm explaining all these concepts and things that I've perceived through stories, which I think is a way easier way for people to access those levels of perception. And a package of my sound healing, which is awesome.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to put that up one more time on the screen for everyone. Again, that is a beautiful package, beautiful webinar series. Everything's recorded. You will get the downloads. It's beautiful time with Z, and there's always time for deep questions with her as well as you learn these skills and tools from Z, Earthstar Healer. Well, thank you for that, Z. Thank you so much. We are going to wrap up our show here, but right now we're going to have an immediate Zoom audience with you. This is where I step out of the way and you get to interface with the people who ask you questions. They're in our Zoom room, and on the screen now is where you can register for a QCTV pass. Basically, $11 a month gets you into all of our QCTV after parties with all of the recordings that we've always had. And you can also get the calendar for upcoming events and ask questions in our member area if you're not able to join us live. And we'll get those questions answered in our QCTV after party. What I love about this and what I'm so excited about is it's just another way to get intimate with all of you, to share your new earth experience, to support one another, and to have that fun connection with my guests in our Zoom audience. So check that out. On the screen, you'll see bit.ly/QCTV pass, and that gets you into our after show today, immediately following this broadcast. Well, Z, thank you so much, Goddess. I'd like to just say thank you. We really feel this love of stepping up, the love that you bring forward. We are definitely hopping onto this level of perception, and we thank you for showing the way and for being speaking your truth and being that fine walking living example.
Thank you so much, Loren. It's always so fun being here.
Yay, it's always so fun. All right, I'm going to step out of the way now. We're going to dance our way to the cosmic heart. And if you'd like to join us in our Zoom audience, check that out. We'll see you on the other side. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.